The next part of the channel strip that we're going to discuss is called send, or auxiliary send is another word that's commonly used. An aux send's main function is to send part of your audio stream to a different location for additional processing. Okay, we'll talk about how we may do that in just a minute. I like to think of the audio stream coming down here, coming down the channel strip, as an actual audio river, audio stream coming down and being surrounded by canyon walls. In this case, the canyon walls are the channel strip. All of the audio stream is coming down through the canyon and has to pass through the insert. 100% of the audio has to pass through the insert. The send is essentially like a little dam area, and each dam requires that all of the water, or audio stream in this case, has to go through the dam. However, each dam has a small spillway where they can open and allow a portion of the river to go to another location. That's kind of like an aux send or a send. Okay, when you put a send on your track, you are allowing some of the data to be routed to a different location. And usually it's for some other purpose, to put some reverb on a vocal, something like that. By opening this send, you can control the amount of data that is being sent to this other location. Okay, so it's kind of like having a little spillway. You can open or close the valve as much as you want. You can allow a lot of the river to go down through the send, or you can allow just a small trickle to go down through the send. So the difference between an insert and a send is that you can actually control the level that you are sending to a different location, whereas with an insert, 100% of that river or audio stream is going to pass through that insert. Here is our analog channel strip. Now in this case it's not analog, it's digital because it's inside of a workstation inside my computer. But as you can see, it's emulating the same type of setup that I showed you earlier here. All the buttons at the top, you got sends, you've got inserts, and then you've got a pan knob and a fader, all of which we're going to get to in a little bit. But you can see in Pro Tools we have the exact same thing. Here's our inserts up here, our sends, etc. Okay, so if I decide I want to put a reverb on this track, I can do it here, and I can place a reverb on this track. Now, because it's an insert, I can't control the level of my voice compared to the level of the reverb. Remember I said it's all or nothing. Everything has to go through the insert. Alright? But one thing that I could do is I could set up an additional track, and for our discussions, I'm just going to call it verb, and I'm going to put that reverb on a track, on this verb track I just mentioned. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a send, and I'm going to send part of the signal from here over to this track. So it will send part of the signal to this reverb. Now, remember I said it was kind of like a spillway. Here is our control knob to the spillway. As we raise this, you can see we're getting more and more level that's hitting the reverb. And we can raise it up and add quite a bit of reverb to our original signal. But that may not be what we want. We may want to just have a little bit of reverb going to our signal. And we can adjust that here. So here's where we adjust how much of the audio stream is bypassing the dam and going off to a different location. Okay, we're sending via an aux send or auxiliary send. We're sending part of the audio stream to a new location. In this case, to be affected by reverb. Okay, so that is what an aux send does. Okay, let's review where we're at so far. We have a microphone that's a transducer and can be one of three types: a ribbon, a condenser, or dynamic. And once it has transduced that sound wave and created an electrical signal, and the mic preamp gains up the signal so that it's usable. So it's going to have a gain knob or volume knob, and it also is the location of the 48-volt power that's required for the condenser microphone. After that comes the insert. Inserts most commonly are two types: EQ or compression. EQ allows you to alter the frequencies of your audio stream as it passes through and either make louder or softer certain frequencies. Compression allows you to compress the audio signal very much like how you would compress the air in a room by raising the floor or lowering the ceiling or both to compress that space. There are many other inserts that are available, but these are the two most common. The next thing that we came to in our channel strip was the send, or aux send. Now, an aux send sends a portion of the audio stream to a different location to be processed. The main thing that's important to remember about the differences between a send and an insert is that an insert affects the whole channel, or the whole signal going through the channel, and the send sends a portion of that audio to a different location to be processed. And the example I gave to you was of reverb. Now, the next thing I wanted to discuss was this section right here. It's called the input-output section. It is where we tell our channel strip where to look for the audio and where to send the audio when we're finished processing it through the channel strip. Okay, it's the in and out ports, essentially. Now, in Pro Tools, they put the input and output right here. Okay, realistically, if this was a real analog console, where we would select to receive the input would be up here in front of the insert. And where the output would actually, where we would tell the signal where to be output, would actually be down here after this. But for some reason, for the sake of convenience, they decided to stick the input and the output together in this area. The important thing to remember is this is where we're telling Pro Tools to look for our signal. So in this case, if I took this and changed the input to a different channel, you turn it back on, all of a sudden you couldn't hear me anymore because we changed where Pro Tools was looking for the input signal. Okay? And I know that I've plugged this microphone into mic preamp number 12, and so that's where I'm going to look for my signal. This is also where we tell Pro Tools where to send the signal, where we're going to output it. Right now I'm going out the main outputs, but you could see I could select a number of different outputs. So whatever type of hardware configuration you have will be what restricts how many outputs or inputs are available for you to choose. Pan is a way for us to determine in the stereo field where we want our audio to appear. If I go back to Pro Tools and I look at my pan knob here, I can select and move it from side to side. This is where we tell the audio stream where to play in the stereo field. When I say stereo field, what I mean is, all of us have a field of vision, okay? We have two eyes, and if you hold your hands out to the side and move them back like this, there will come a point in time where you can no longer see your hands. Right there, I can't see my hands any longer unless I turn my head. Okay, so my field of view is here forward. All right, we also have an aural field of view. All right, we can listen to something, listen to a sound source, and decide where it's coming from. Okay, so if I hear a sound and it's mainly coming from over here to my left, then most of the sound my ears are perceiving is coming from here. Okay, in other words, this ear is probably hearing more of that sound than this ear is. And then my brain goes, okay, if I'm hearing more sound here, I'm perceiving it over there. That's where that sound source is. We do the exact same thing in audio and recording and also in live sound. We are using this pan knob to control where the perceived sound source is. Okay? Now let me ask you a question. Is there a way we could have the sound source just come from one speaker and not the other without using the pan knob? The answer to that question is yes. Right now we have our output selected to be going out output 1 and 2. So output 1 and 2 corresponds with output 1 is the left speaker, output 2 is the right speaker. So if we wanted in this case just to have my voice come out output 1 or speaker 1, we could select that here. Now my voice is only coming out the left speaker. And the other thing you noticed is that the pan knob went away. Why did the pan knob go away? Well, there's nothing to pan. If we only have one sound source coming from one place, then our pan knob is useless. Okay? The only reason to have a pan knob is if we have two sound sources, then we can decide where between those two sound sources we want the audio to come from. So same thing, if I change and place the audio on output 2, now it's just coming out the right speaker. So we can alter where we hear our audio coming from in our stereo field by using the pan knob. Okay, the last segment I wanted to talk about in this video was the volume fader. Volume fader is just a little knob or slider that allows you to control the output volume of each track. Now, some people get a little confused between the differences between the gain knob in the mic preamp and the volume fader down here. Important thing to remember is that in Pro Tools, especially, this volume fader controls the output signal. It controls the overall volume of the signal. The gain knob up in the mic preamp section gains up the audio signal to get it to a level or a point at where it is usable and we can use it in the rest of these parts of the channel strip. So if you turn the volume all the way down, it won't affect the gain control here. So that's the volume fader. It controls the overall volume of a track. Okay, that's it for this particular video. We will continue our discussion about the basic audio signal track in just a minute, which will deal with submixing, and I'll actually open a couple of Pro Tools sessions for you to see.